I was reviewing our wedding invitations when my phone buzzed with an email titled Transaction Complete. In that instant, I learned Emma, my fiancée and marketing partner, had emptied our accounts of $8 million and vanished without a trace. 2 clicks later, every penny we'd raised in 3 years of hustle was gone. Our clients left in limbo and our dreams in ruins. Over the next few minutes, I'll take you from our first late-night brainstorms in a cramped garage to the subtle red flags I ignored. Phantom invoices labeled Special Campaign, meeting notes missing Emma's signature, and her secret midnight transfers. You'll see how I quietly backed up our contracts off-site, enlisted a forensic accounting team, and launched a legal counterstrike that forced the truth into daylight. Stay tuned to discover how I reclaim my future, turn betrayal into victory, and save my company on the eve of our wedding day. I'm Alex Turner, a 31-year-old tech entrepreneur based in San Francisco. 3 years ago, I co-founded Prism Commerce with my fiancée, Emma Davis, after bootstrapping our way through countless late-night coding sessions in a tiny garage. By year 2, we'd grown into a 7-figure business, selling custom apparel and lifestyle products to tens of thousands of customers worldwide. I handled product design and operations, while Emma led marketing campaigns and investor relations. Our relationship was built on trust and shared dreams. We were planning our wedding for next month, expecting to celebrate both our union and our company's next big funding round. Life felt unstoppable until that fateful email arrived. I started noticing the warning signs just days before our wedding announcements were set to go live. Our finance dashboard showed a string of special campaign invoices, each tagged for a few $1,000s, but together adding up to 6 figures. When I brought it up to Emma, she brushed it off as part of an aggressive growth strategy, yet I could find no board approval in the digital minutes. Then came the missing signatures. Meeting notes for key budget approvals arrived truncated. Emma's signature line wiped clean. I discovered that someone had altered the original PDF and overwritten the changelog, erasing every trace of her consent. The real shock hit at 2 a.m. when I checked our bank portal and saw an outgoing transfer of $1.2 million to an account registered under a shell company name. The IP lookup traced directly back to the Viceroy Hotel in Cabo, where Emma was supposed to be finalizing our honeymoon plans. Each revelation felt like another piece of a puzzle I never signed up to solve. I knew then that these weren't innocent oversights, but the first moves in a calculated betrayal, and I had to act before the final blow landed. I refused to let panic dictate my next move. As the horizon of our wedding day drew closer, I began a silent operation to safeguard everything Emma had threatened to destroy. First, I locked down every digital gateway. I changed passwords on our corporate bank accounts, CRM platform, email servers, and even our Slack workspace. 2-factor authentication was enabled across the board, and any device not registered to me was logged out immediately. No more backdoors. Next, I reached out to a forensic accounting team under the guise of routine due diligence. While Emma thought she still had the upper hand, I was arranging an off-the-record audit of every transaction we'd processed in the last 6 months. When their preliminary report landed in my inbox at dawn, highlighting dozens of unauthorized wire transfers, I knew I was on the right track. Meanwhile, I quietly backed up every client contract, trademark filing, and investor agreement to an encrypted off-site server. Even as I lay in bed reviewing wedding venue layouts, I was downloading PDFs and archiving them under the label Emergency Docs. I also drafted a provisional injunction with our legal counsel, ready to file the moment I confirmed the full extent of Emma's betrayal. By late afternoon, my attorney had filed the necessary paperwork to freeze our corporate accounts and prevent any asset transfers. Emma would wake up to find her access revoked, and she wouldn't see it coming. All of this happened in whispers and hidden clicks. No confrontations, no dramatic threats, just calculated steps to ensure I retained control. In the shadows of what should have been our happiest days, I was building an unbreakable fortress around my business and my future. I knew internal measures and backups wouldn't be enough to stop Emma's betrayal, so I activated my legal contingency plan first thing the next morning. My attorney met me at an off-the-record meeting room in the firm's law offices, where I laid out the forensic accountant's preliminary report. Dozens of unauthorized wire transfers totaling $8 million, all routed through shell entities. We drafted a comprehensive demand letter addressed to Emma and her new corporate alias, threatening immediate civil action, asset freezes, and injunctive relief if the funds weren't restored within 48 hours. The letter cited specific breach of fiduciary clauses from our shareholder agreement, making our case airtight. Simultaneously, I filed an ex parte motion for a temporary restraining order in the local court, requesting that all corporate accounts be frozen pending a full hearing. The judge granted it the same day, effectively locking Emma out and preventing further transfers. I personally served her notice at the address on file, watching through the glass door as she ripped open the envelope in disbelief. Meanwhile, I notified our major investors under a strict NDA, providing them with redacted evidence packages and requesting emergency board authorization for litigation expenses. Their unanimous support came through within hours. Funds were allocated, trustees appointed, and our legal team expanded to include a top litigation partner. By nightfall, I had turned the tables. What began as a solo defense had become a full-scale legal offensive, and every move was backed by court orders and investor mandates. Landed. I arrived at the courthouse before sunrise, the marble steps gleaming in the morning light. My attorney flanked me as we entered the packed courtroom, investors in suits, our legal team at the ready, and Emma's counsel glaring from across the room. When the judge called the session to order, I stepped forward with calm resolve. I placed our evidence on the lectern. Exhibit A, the forensic accounting report detailing the $8 million in unauthorized wire transfers. Exhibit B, server logs and PDF change histories showing Emma's tampering with meeting minutes and invoice approvals. Exhibit C, the demand letter and the certified restraining order that froze all corporate accounts. As I presented each exhibit, I spoke deliberately. Your Honor, these records demonstrate a systematic, premeditated breach of fiduciary duty. Over 3 years, my co-founder orchestrated the liquidation of our assets, right before the biggest day of our lives. Emma's attorney attempted to cast doubt, questioning the chain of custody and claiming business complexities were to blame. But when my attorney cross-examined her, the discrepancies became impossible to explain. Did you have board approval for any of these transfers? Why were your actions hidden behind an alias and shell accounts? Do you deny clicking approve on these documents at 2 a.m. in Cabo? Silence followed each pointed question. The judge scanned the evidence, nodding as he reviewed the authenticated timestamps and audit trails. In closing arguments, my attorney delivered the decisive blow. Your Honor, this isn't a dispute over strategy. It's a betrayal that cost real people their livelihoods. We ask for full restitution of $8 million, termination of Emma's governing rights, and reimbursement of legal fees. When the gavel finally fell, the courtroom exhaled as one. The judge ruled in our favor, ordering immediate repayment, reinstating board control under a court-appointed receiver, and awarding our legal costs. As I shook hands with our attorney outside the courtroom, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. In the most public arena imaginable, justice had prevailed. I stepped into the sunlight, knowing that on the eve of my wedding and the brink of collapse, I had turned betrayal into vindication. I stepped out of the courthouse into the warm sunlight, the judge's ruling still echoing in my mind. Reporters clustered at the steps, pens poised over notepads as I offered a brief statement. Today, justice was delivered, not just for me, but for every investor and employee affected by this betrayal. No grandstanding, just the facts. Back at our headquarters, the atmosphere had shifted overnight. A court-appointed receiver took temporary control of our bank accounts and operations, overseeing every transaction with exacting scrutiny. I watched from the boardroom mezzanine as auditors in crisp suits reviewed our ledgers line by line. Investors huddled in small groups, nodding in approval as the receiver assured them of full restitution and tighter financial governance. That evening, I convened an emergency board meeting to formalize the aftermath. Emma's access was revoked, her shares frozen pending repayment. We appointed a new CFO, someone with an impeccable track record and no personal ties to the founders. We fast-tracked a revised shareholder agreement, inserting clauses for instant account freezes and mandatory third-party audits whenever unusual transfers occurred. In the days that followed, we issued a public statement. Full reimbursement of the stolen $8 million, enhanced transparency measures, and our commitment to rebuilding trust. Media outlets framed our story not as a scandal, but as a blueprint for corporate resilience. Client calls poured in, many expressing relief and renewed confidence in Prism Commerce's future. As for me, I took a moment alone in my office to reflect. I opened a box of wedding invitations, now relics of a life nearly derailed, and placed them in a drawer marked Next Chapter. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but it was tempered by the knowledge that I had defended my vision with unwavering resolve. I had transformed what could have been a final defeat into the foundation for a stronger enterprise. I walked into our freshly overhauled office, feeling the weight of the past week lift off my shoulders. Gone were the lockdown systems and hushed whispers. Now, every screen displayed live financial dashboards, and the glass-walled meeting rooms buzzed with renewed energy. First, we issued a company-wide memo announcing the return of all $8 million and the appointment of a court-approved receiver to oversee the transition back to founder control. Investors logged into shared dashboards and watched as frozen funds unfroze and reappeared in our main operating account. Next, we relaunched Prism Commerce with a bold new branding campaign. A billboard on Market Street in San Francisco proclaimed, "Trust Reinvented." We rolled out an updated e-commerce platform featuring real-time audit alerts for every transaction and a public integrity tracker widget that showed our compliance status live. Inside the office, I gathered the core team for a champagne toast. I spoke from the heart. This isn't just about money. It's about proving that even the deepest betrayal can be the catalyst for something greater. We unveiled employee-driven transparency teams, each responsible for monthly peer reviews of financial, marketing, and product processes. By the end of the day, press releases had gone out. Social media was abuzz with client testimonials praising our openness, and new customer sign-ups hit an all-time high. As I stepped outside for a breath of evening air, the skyline glittered back at me, proof that our comeback was real. In that moment, I knew the hardest part was behind us. Betrayal had almost destroyed us, but rebuilding with radical transparency became our new superpower. I knew that lasting change required more than policies on paper. It needed a shift in mindset. So, on the Monday after our relaunch, I convened an all-hands meeting in our bright, glass-walled atrium. I started by laying bare every detail of Emma's betrayal and our legal victory, emphasizing that transparency would be our North Star going forward. We introduced 3 cornerstone initiatives: weekly open ledger reviews. Every Friday, our entire team logs into a live finance dashboard. Any employee can raise a question about a transaction, no matter how small, and receive an immediate public response. This turned financial oversight from a top-down chore into a collective responsibility. Dual sign approval system. For any payment or contract over $10,000, 2 unrelated executives must sign off. We automated the workflow in our platform so that the system itself enforces the rule. No backdoors, no workarounds. Quarterly lessons learned workshops. Each quarter, a different department leads a candid session. We dissect a real incident, from a near miss in marketing to a vendor payment mistake, and share what went wrong and how we fixed it. These workshops reinforce that admitting faults isn't punishable. It's essential for growth. I closed the meeting by unveiling our public trust manifesto, a living document published on our website that outlines these commitments and invites stakeholders to hold us accountable. When I looked around the room, I saw nods of agreement and a sense of ownership that was palpable. In the weeks that followed, anomalies plummeted to 0 and morale soared. Employees said they felt more empowered and responsible than ever. Investors praised our pioneering model, and our integrity tracker widget became a talking point in industry podcasts. By embedding these practices into our daily rhythm, we ensured that the culture of trust we fought so hard to reclaim would never slip away. I've learned that true resilience isn't built overnight. It's engineered for the long haul. To safeguard Prism Commerce against any repeat of betrayal, we put these measures in place. Annual third-party audit. Each year, an independent firm reviews our finances, governance, and security protocols. Their findings are published on our website for clients and investors to see. No secrets, no spin. Automated anomaly detection. We deployed machine learning tools that monitor every transaction, login, and code change in real time. The moment something deviates from the norm, our breach response team gets an instant alert. supermajority, voting for major decisions. Any sale, merger, or large disbursement now requires approval by a two-thirds vote of non-founder board members. This checks and balances model makes unilateral moves impossible. Integrity Council. We formed a rotating committee of employees from all departments. They meet quarterly to audit processes, propose improvements, and serve as a confidential whistleblower channel. Annual reflection retreat. Every year, on the anniversary of that fateful email, I host a company retreat at the lakeside cabin where it all began. We reflect on lessons learned, update our trust manifesto, and renew our commitment to transparency and accountability. As I look back from my porch at the setting sun, I realize that our greatest victory wasn't just reclaiming $8 million. It was proving that integrity, when woven into every system and every person, becomes an unbreakable asset. Thank you for following this journey. If you've ever faced betrayal, whether in business or life, share your story below, subscribe for more hard-won insights, and remember, design your systems so no one can ever take what you've built. I never expected our story to make headlines, but within days of the legal victory, major business outlets picked up on Prism Commerce's unprecedented transparency model. I was invited onto CNBC's Power Players segment, where I explained how a near $8 million betrayal became the catalyst for an industry-first governance standard. Back on the steps of the courthouse, Bloomberg reporters asked, "What's next for you?" I replied simply, "We proved that radical accountability is good business." Clips of investors applauding our integrity tracker widget and live audits were shared on social media, sparking conversations on LinkedIn from entrepreneurs around the globe. Tech blogs praised our trust manifesto, and a feature in Fast Company dubbed us the startup that turned betrayal into breakthrough. Suddenly, clients weren't just buying our services, they were buying our commitment to transparency. Our customer base grew by 25% that month alone, driven by companies seeking a partner they could truly trust. With attention came responsibility. I partnered with a nonprofit accelerator to mentor early-stage founders on governance best practices. Each month, I led workshops on financial safeguards, showing real excerpts from our court filings, anonymized of course, to illustrate the importance of dual-sign approvals and anomaly monitoring. Student entrepreneurs at Stanford and Berkeley invited me to guest lecture, framing Prism Commerce as a living case study in crisis management. I shared hard lessons, how missing a single invoice signature almost cost us everything, and emphasized that vigilance and system design go hand in hand. Outside the classroom, I volunteered for a veterans business network, helping service members transition to civilian entrepreneurship. My story resonated. Betrayal can happen anywhere, but structured defenses and community support turn vulnerability into strength. By the end of year 2, Prism Commerce had outgrown our San Francisco office. We opened a second hub in Austin, Texas, designed from the ground up around glass-walled finance suites and live transparency dashboards. I flew in for the ribbon cutting, unveiling our AI-driven anomaly detection platform that flags potential fraud before a dollar moves. We expanded our team to over 80, each new hire signing our Trust Charter on day 1. We secured enterprise contracts with Fortune 500 brands demanding verifiable accountability. As I watched our technology integrate into national retail chains, I realized we weren't just scaling a company. We were exporting a culture of integrity to every market we entered. Leading through crisis taught me resilience and empathy. I still journal each night by lamplight at my lakeside cabin, reflecting on choices that saved our company and our relationship with our investors. I've learned to balance vigilance with trust, secure systems without stifling innovation. My next project? A book on crisis leadership, blending narrative and frameworks for founders facing betrayal. I'm also exploring a podcast series to interview leaders who turned adversity into advantage. And at home, I prioritize time with family and Scout, remembering that life beyond the boardroom is where true purpose lies. As we wrap up this saga, remember, betrayal never knocks. It breaks down doors. But with systems engineered for transparency, you can build walls no one can breach. Start today. Audit your most critical process, enable dual sign checks, and publish a trust charter for your team to follow. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that resilience is a design choice. Subscribe for more stories where justice meets innovation, and join our community of forward-thinking entrepreneurs. Thank you for watching. Now, go design your future so no one can ever steal it again.